Welcome to Industrializing the Commonwealth. This is a series showing Fallout 4 settlement builds. Now, I love Fallout 4, and I think the best part of the game is the settlement building. You can actually change the face of the game, more so than almost any game I've ever played, and you can also do it within the role-playing aspect of the game. You can take these settlements and you can create safe places where people can live their lives. If you build up all the settlements and get a lot of settlers, you can have hundreds of people living in places that you create. Places where they can be safe, where they can, have enough to eat, have shelter, and really have a much better life than they would if you didn't do these things. And I really liked that aspect of the game. So I played through a few times, did different combinations, had some different themes in the settlements I built. But then I discovered mods, and I saw the possibilities that could provide. You could go with completely different looks. You could incorporate that into the role-playing aspect of the game too. And so that's what this series is. This is modded settlements to improve the lives of the people in the Commonwealth. The way I've chosen to do that is through the theme of industrialization, because that's the next logical step to take in the environment of the Commonwealth. Here, people scavenge, they farm, they make some things, but really it's a pre-industrial society. So industrialization means that we're going to start having people specialize, we're going to start automating production, we're going to start producing on a large scale. When you do that, you get much more efficient at making things so that you can have more of them. And then you trade the things you make, and that's just commerce. So the goal is to keep building, keep improving and growing, and the goal of this all is to make people's lives better. One of the requirements to do this is security. You can't build a factory if you're being killed by deathclaws. Because of this, in this game, I've sided with the Brotherhood of Steel. Now, that wasn't a particularly hard choice. I basically had two criteria. So the first one is, which faction wants to help the people of the Commonwealth? And the second question is, does the faction have the capability to help the people of the Commonwealth? So we have four factions. The first one, the Railroad, fails both of these questions. They only really care about the synths, and they don't have the capability to make large differences in the security situation of the Commonwealth. So they're out. The Institute fails on the first question. They really don't care about the people of the Commonwealth. They think those people are lost, they'll eventually die off. In the meantime, they're perfectly happy to kidnap them and murder them if it's convenient for their research. The Minutemen, they want to help the people of the Commonwealth, because they are the people of the Commonwealth. But their ability to do so is lacking. I mean, when you first meet them, the Minutemen are basically one guy. Even after building them back up, they still don't really have the capability to protect the Commonwealth from all the different threats out there. And that brings us to the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood has probably the best military capability around, and they also want to help the people of the Commonwealth. People might have disagreements about their methods, or possibly their motivation sometimes, but from new soldiers up through the leadership, they constantly talk about how they want to help people in the Commonwealth. Most of your missions with the Brotherhood revolve around eliminating deadly threats to common people in the Commonwealth, or hoarding technology, but more on that in a minute. So here I've sided with the Brotherhood of Steel, and I've dedicated several of the settlements I've built to improve and increase their capabilities. So on technology. I've taken a pretty narrow view of their prohibition on technology and have focused on the advanced part of it. So in my interpretation, they're fine with robots and with mechanization, so if you have factories that are automated, that's not a problem. But they have a big problem with synths. So you constantly hear, after you destroy the Institute, Brotherhood members talking about anyone who messes with our humanity. Along the same lines, nuclear power is okay, but nuclear weapons are not. Things that have the potential to threaten either humanity or civilization are what they are going to prohibit, in my view. Industrializing the Commonwealth, I think, is also in their interest as well. And I think I could convince them of this as someone pretty high up in their organization. Military power always has its roots in economic power. As allies of the Commonwealth, as the Commonwealth improves its economy, as more people start coming in, as they become more able to support production, the Brotherhood can benefit. They can have more and better weapons, better equipment, and more recruits. They just have more tools to reach their goals. So I have 4 settlements for the Brotherhood of Steel. 10 of the settlements I've built up for production. So that's factories, that's research. This is the industrialization part. 2 of the settlements are markets. So Bunker Hill was a market before, it stays a market. And then I've turned the castle into a pretty large market as well. We still have to feed everyone in the Commonwealth, so 6 of the settlements are for food. Farms, places that have livestock, and places that have wild game as well. Then we have societal infrastructure, so things like government, there's a bank to represent a financial system, there's a university and library, and then a few others. And lastly, some technical details. So I'm doing all this on a PlayStation 4. It's not ideal for making modded settlements, but that's what I have, so that's what I used. It also limits the amount of clutter I can put in. The PlayStation engine kind of shuts down if you put in too much, as I definitely experienced in the castle. And it also means no new items. So everything has to be an in-game item that is unlocked for settlement building. So this is definitely modded builds, and some of the big ones I use, the first one is unlocked settlement objects. This is absolutely key. This is actually the one I saw that inspired me to do all this. It unlocks most, but not all, of the items in the game as buildable objects in settlements. So anything you see with, new cars or industrial machinery, or even like all the textures on the walls and the floors, that comes from USO. Another mod that you need to get a lot of buildable stuff is OC Decorator. So all the stuff that you can carry and just throw around, OC Decorator turns it into, again, buildable objects and settlements. Scrap That Settlement it has a very dear place in my heart. It basically lets you clean up all the garbage and all the unscrappable things, well, most of the unscrappable things in the various settlements. So skeletons, houses you don't want, holes that mole rats have dug, all sorts of stuff. It's great. The other key mod is, for the PlayStation, it's called Quality Workaround Place Anywhere Tool. I couldn't actually find this when I went back into the Bethesda mod list, so I'm not sure it still exists. But you have to be able to place anywhere. That's used extensively in, I think, every settlement I did. Those are the major ones. There are some other ones. For instance, if you watch the videos, you see me jumping around like I have the Marsupial perk from Fallout 76. That came from the mod The Cheat Room, where they have a box full of rings with special powers. And there are a few others, but the big four will get you most of the way for pretty much all these settlements. So that's the intro. This is the first of the playlist that has the rest of the settlement builds in there. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching.